The crimson sun crawled across Kepler-7b's copper sky, casting long shadows through the reinforced windows of Research Station Echo. Reyna pressed her forehead against the thick transpar steel, watching another dust storm approach from the western dunes. At 14, she had spent nearly half her life on this desolate world, though the past 8 months had been the hardest. Alone, monitoring the station's systems, and waiting for any sign of her parents' return. The station's environmental sensors chimed their daily warning as external temperatures climbed past 50 degrees Celsius. Reyna pulled away from the window, her reflection showing dark circles under deep brown eyes. Her once neat black hair had grown wild, cut irregularly with utility scissors when it got too long to manage. The standard-issue station uniform hung loose on her frame, modified and patched where needed. Morning check complete, she announced to the empty control room, maintaining the routine that kept her sane. External temperature 51.2 degrees Celsius, atmospheric pressure 847 millibars, radiation levels nominal. The words echoed off metal walls decorated with her drawings, landscapes of Earth she'd never seen, based on her parents' descriptions and the station's limited database. Her parents, Dr. Jasmine Kumar and Dr. Thomas Nash, had led the research team studying Kepler-7b's unique geological composition. Their last transmission, 243 days ago, had been routine. They were investigating unusual energy signatures in the northern crystal fields. Then nothing. The rescue missions never came. Interstellar communications had gone dark shortly after, leaving Reyna alone with the automated systems and her own ingenuity. A loud screech from outside interrupted her thoughts. Through the observation dome, she spotted one of the native predators, a stalker, as she called them. The creature's crystalline exoskeleton refracted sunlight in rainbow patterns as it prowled the perimeter, testing the station's defenses. Its segmented body stretched nearly 5 meters, with sharp appendages that could slice through metal. Yet something about their behavior had always seemed oddly purposeful to Reyna, more like sentries than simple predators. The station's lower levels housed the hydroponics bay where Reyna grew her food, supplemented by protein synthesizers that would last another 3 years at current consumption rates. She had learned to repair the critical systems, studying the maintenance manuals until her eyes burned. The alternative was death, quick in the deadly heat outside, or slow as the station's systems failed one by one. Moving to the communications array, Reyna began her daily attempt to reach anyone off-world. "This is Research Station Echo, Kepler-7b, requesting emergency contact." Static answered, as always. She modified the frequency, trying the emergency bands. "This is Reyna Kumar Nash. If anyone receives this, please respond." The console suddenly sparked, screens flickering with strange symbols she'd never seen before. They weren't part of any human language she knew, nor any of the scientific notations her parents had used. The patterns pulsed with an almost organic rhythm, disappearing before she could record them. "Computer, analyze last signal," she commanded, fingers flying across the interface. The system responded with an error message, "Signal origin unknown. Pattern matches no known database entries." Reyna's heart raced. This was new, the first change in 8 months of isolation. She began reconfiguring the communications array, trying to detect any similar transmissions. The station's deep ground sensors indicated unusual seismic activity, far too regular to be natural. As sunset approached, she made her way to the observatory level, where her parents had spent countless hours studying the planet's unique astronomical phenomena. The twin moons were rising, their pale light creating ghost-like shadows across the desert landscape. The stalker had disappeared, but she knew it was still up there, watching. In the gathering darkness, Reyna noticed something she'd missed before: tiny lights flickering in the crystal fields where her parents had vanished. They pulsed in the same rhythm as the strange symbols on her console. Her fingers pressed against the glass as realization dawned. She wasn't alone on this world. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate. The station's lights dimmed momentarily as another power fluctuation rippled through the systems. When they stabilized, new symbols were scrolling across every screen in the observatory. This time, they began to shift, rearranging themselves into recognizable letters. "We know you are there, child of Earth. Your parents learned too much. But you might be our salvation." Raina stepped back from the console, her mind racing with possibilities and fears. Everything she thought she knew about Kepler 7 bits was about to change. As the moons climbed higher in the alien sky, she began formulating a plan. If something on this planet knew about her parents' disappearance, she would find answers, even if it meant venturing into the deadly desert that had already claimed so many lives. The night cycle brought new sounds, crystalline chimes from the fields and deep vibrations that seemed to emanate from beneath the station itself. Raina gathered her survival gear, modified for her size over months of necessity. Tomorrow, she would begin the true test of everything she had learned in isolation. The mystery of Kepler 7 bits beckoned, promising either answers or oblivion in its scorching embrace. Dawn had barely touched the horizon when Raina sealed her modified environment suit. The chest piece was too large, scrounged from a junior researcher's quarters, but she had reinforced the joints with thermal tape and extra padding. A week of careful preparations had yielded a survival pack with 3 days of water, emergency rations, and spare power cells for her equipment. The crystal field stretched north like a forest of glass daggers, their surfaces already shimmering in the early heat. Raina checked her handheld scanner one final time. The mysterious signals were stronger now, pulsing from somewhere beneath the crystalline formations. She had programmed the station's automated systems to maintain essential functions in her absence, though leaving its protection felt like abandoning her last connection to Earth. "Station, initiate protocol echo," she commanded. Defensive shields hummed to life, and backup systems engage. Record log. Beginning expedition to northern crystal fields. Following signal source, and, she hesitated, possible leads regarding missing expedition team. The airlock cycled with a hiss. Stepping onto the baked surface of Kepler 7 bits felt like walking into an oven. Even through her suit's cooling system, the heat pressed against her like a physical force. The ground crunched beneath her boots, a layer of crystalline fragments that covered the rusty soil like broken glass. Movement caught her eye. A stalker emerged from behind a towering crystal spire, its segmented body flowing like liquid metal. But instead of attacking, it remained motionless, head swiveling to track her movement. The creature's crystalline armor seemed to pulse with the same rhythm as the mysterious signals. "You're not just animals, are you?" Raina whispered. The stalker's compound eyes reflected her suited figure like mirrors. Slowly, deliberately, she took a step forward. The creature retreated the same distance, maintaining a precise gap between them. As she ventured deeper into the crystal field, more stalkers appeared, forming an escort that kept her penned in a careful corridor. They were herding her, she realized, toward something specific. Her scanner's readings grew stronger, accompanied by a deep thrumming that vibrated through her boots. Near midday, she discovered the first artifact. A pillar of black metal thrust from the ground at an angle, its surface etched with symbols matching those from the station's screens. It hummed with energy, and when Raina touched it, the symbols flickered with internal light. Her suit's computer began translating, matching patterns against linguistic databases. Warning. Containment. Guard. The words appeared on her heads-up display as she traced the symbols. This was no random placement. The pillar was part of something larger, something buried beneath the crystal field. As if responding to her touch, the ground trembled. Nearby crystals resonated, creating harmonics that made her teeth ache even through her helmet. A stalker approached, closer than any had dared before. In the harsh sunlight, Raina noticed seams in its crystalline armor that couldn't be natural, precise geometric patterns that suggested artificial construction. The creature extended a limb, tapping the pillar with a crystalline appendage. More symbols illuminated, spreading across the ground in concentric circles. The crystal field was transforming. Spires retracted into the ground while others rose, creating a new configuration, a path leading to a previously hidden entrance. Steps descended into darkness, the walls lined with the same black metal as the pillar. The stalker gestured with its front limbs, a movement too deliberate to be anything but communication. Reyna checked her suit's oxygen levels and power supply. Station. Update log. I found some kind of structure. It's artificial. The stalkers. They're not wildlife. They're guardians. She took a deep breath. I'm going in. The passage down was steep, each step lighting up as her boots touched it. The stalkers remained above, standing sentry around the entrance. As she descended, her scanner detected breathable atmosphere and temperatures significantly cooler than the surface. The walls were covered in more symbols, telling a story she could barely begin to comprehend. 100 meters down, the passage opened into a vast chamber. Reyna's headlamp seemed feeble against the darkness, but as she entered, lines of light began tracing patterns across the floor and ceiling. In the center stood a console similar to those in the research station, but far more advanced. Its screens came to life at her approach. The legacy awaits, child of Earth. Your parents discovered our warning too late. The storm comes. New images flashed across the screens. Astronomical data, gravimetric readings, and what looked like geological surveys. They showed something massive moving beneath the planet's crust, something that made her blood run cold. This wasn't just an alien installation. It was a monitoring station, watching over a threat her parents must have discovered. A holographic display sparked to life, showing Kepler-7 Bits's core. At its center, something pulsed with terrible regularity, like a heartbeat. The translation matrix struggled with the rapid flow of symbols, but one word came through clearly. Awakening. The chamber shuddered as another tremor passed through the planet. In the crystal fields above, she heard the stalkers screech in unison, no longer guardians maintaining their watch, but sirens sounding an alarm. Whatever apocalypse this facility had been built to prevent was beginning. And somehow, Reyna realized, she was now part of its ancient defense. Her suit's communicator crackled. Through the static, she heard fragments of a transmission that made her heart stop. Emergency protocol. Unable to contain. Dr. Kumar requests immediate evacuation. It was her mother's voice, preserved in the facility's systems. The recording was dated just hours before the expedition vanished. The true nature of Kepler-7 Bits's mysteries was finally beginning to unravel, and with it, the fate of her parents. But as another tremor shook the chamber, Reyna wondered if she would live long enough to uncover the whole truth. Deep within the ancient monitoring station, Reyna worked frantically to decode more of her mother's fragmented transmissions. The facility's systems were unlike anything humans had built, responding to gestures and thoughts as much as physical input. As she learned its patterns, more information revealed itself. A new tremor rocked the chamber, stronger than before. Crystal shards rained from the ceiling as displays flashed urgent warnings. The translation matrix struggled to keep up. Containment field degrading. Guardians at minimum capacity. Seeking alternative solutions. Show me what happened to the research team. Reyna commanded, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The holographic display shifted, revealing footage from the day her parents disappeared. She watched as their expedition discovered this same facility, saw their growing excitement turn to horror as they understood what they'd found. The entire planet is engineered. Her mother's voice echoed from the recording. The crystals, the stalkers, they're all part of a containment system. Something is imprisoned in the core, something that shouldn't be. The recording cut off in static. Movement flickered in her peripheral vision. Reyna spun, helmet lights illuminating a corner of the chamber she hadn't yet explored. The air itself seemed to shimmer, condensing into a form that defied explanation. A being emerged from the distortion, its body composed of crystalline structures similar to the stalkers, but far more intricate. Light pulsed through its transparent tissues in complex patterns. "We are Lumini," words formed in her mind as the creature approached. "Your kind names us so, though we existed before your ancestors left their caves." Reyna's translator attempted to process the telepathic communication, struggling with concepts that had no human equivalent. "You're what my parents found," she said. "What are you guarding?" The Lumini's form shifted, creating a three-dimensional image in the air between them. It showed Kepler-7 bits as it had been millions of years ago, a thriving world of crystal forests and soaring spires. "We were not always guardians," the being conveyed. "We were builders, creators, explorers like your kind, until we discovered what slept beneath." The image changed, showing something massive stirring in the planet's core, an entity of such alien geometry that Reyna's mind struggled to comprehend it. "The dreamer," the Lumini explained, "a being from the space between spaces. Its dreams shape reality. Its nightmares." Another tremor emphasized the unspoken warning. "My parents," Reyna pressed. "Where are they?" "They understood the danger, offered to help. The dreamer's consciousness is expanding. The containment fields weaken. Your parents sought a solution in the deep archives, where time moves differently." "Differently? What does that mean?" The Lumini's crystalline form rippled. "What has been 8 months for you has been mere days in the archives. They work to save not just this world, but all worlds the dreamer might touch should it fully wake." Hope surged through Reyna's chest, tempered by the enormity of what she was learning. Her parents were alive, but they were fighting to prevent something that threatened far more than just their survival on this hostile world. The chamber's displays suddenly flared red. A stalker burst through the entrance, its movements urgent. The Lumini's patterns shifted to patterns of alarm. "The containment field is failing faster than projected. The dreamer stirs." The holographic display showed massive energy disturbances throughout the planet's crust. The crystal fields above were resonating at frequencies that threatened to shatter them. Even the stalkers, engineered to withstand the planet's harshest conditions, were showing signs of stress. "Your parents discovered a possible solution in the archives," the Lumini communicated, "but they need more time. The question is, can you help us maintain the containment field until their work is complete?" "How?" Reyna asked, even as her mind raced through possibilities. She had learned to maintain complex systems in the research station, had studied every technical manual and scientific paper she could access during her months of isolation. The Lumini guided her to a control interface unlike any she had seen before. "The stalkers respond to human thought patterns in ways we did not anticipate. Your parents theorized it was because of your species' unique neural architecture. Through this interface, you might be able to enhance their containment protocols." Another violent tremor shook the facility. Through the entrance, Reyna could see the crystal fields blazing with energy as the stalkers fought to maintain the ancient containment systems. At 14, she faced a decision that would affect not just her survival, but potentially the safety of worlds beyond Kepler-7 bits. "Show me how," she said, placing her hands on the crystalline interface. As consciousness melded with ancient technology, she felt the presence of the stalkers above, not just machines or bioengineered guardians, but an interconnected network of sentinels. And far below, something vast stirred in its eons-old slumber, its dreams already beginning to warp the fabric of reality around them. The race to save Kepler-7 bits had begun, and Reyna was now its unlikely guardian. The underground city. Interfacing with the stalker network opened Reyna's mind to the true scope of Kepler-7 bits' engineering. Through their crystalline senses, she perceived the planet as a vast machine, its systems interlocking in ways that defied human understanding. The Lumini guided her consciousness deeper, through layers of ancient technology and living crystal. "There," her guide indicated, revealing a massive cavern far below. "The archives where your parents work." Through the neural interface, Reyna saw a city of impossible architecture, buildings of living crystal that pulsed with their own light, suspended in a void that seemed to bend space itself. Lumini moved through the structures like schools of luminescent fish, their thoughts a symphony of mathematics and light. And there, in a towering spire of matrix crystal, she found them. Her parents hadn't aged a day, surrounded by holographic displays and ancient texts. They worked alongside the Lumini archivists, piecing together fragments of knowledge from civilizations that had faced the dreamer before. But reaching them wouldn't be simple. The path down required navigating through areas where reality had already begun to warp under the dreamer's influence. The archives exist partially outside normal spacetime. The Lumini explained, it is how we preserve knowledge across ends, but it also makes them vulnerable to the dreamer's influence. Reyna began her descent, guided by stalkers whose crystalline bodies helped stabilize the fluctuating reality around her. Each level down brought new challenges, corridors that looped impossibly, chambers where gravity shifted without warning, and echoes of the dreamer's dreams that threatened to overwhelm her human consciousness. Race against time. The reunion with her parents was bittersweet and brief. Dr. Kumar and Dr. Nash had discovered that the dreamer's prison was failing because it had begun to resonate with human consciousness. Their presence on Kepler 7 bits had inadvertently accelerated its awakening. The original builders didn't account for minds like ours, her father explained, his voice tight with urgency. Human consciousness, our capacity for abstract thought and imagination. It's acting as a catalyst. But that same resonance might be our salvation, her mother added. We found references to a final failsafe, a way to rewrite the containment field's fundamental parameters using human neural patterns as a template. The plan was dangerous. It would require Reyna to fully merge with the planet's systems, using her young, adaptable mind as a bridge between human consciousness and the ancient technology. Her parents would serve as anchors, preventing her psyche from being lost in the vast network. But time was running out. The dreamer's stirring had begun to affect reality beyond Kepler 7 bits. Strange phenomena were rippling across space, detectable even through the research station's limited sensors. If they failed, the effects would cascade across the galaxy. Legacy of Two Worlds. The final chamber was a perfect sphere of living crystal, hovering above a chasm that seemed to descend forever. Here, at the nexus of the planet's containment systems, Reyna would attempt something never before tried. The merging of human consciousness with the ancient machinery of a dead civilization to imprison a being that existed partly outside of reality itself. Her parents worked at auxiliary controls while Lumini technicians made final adjustments. Through the neural interface, Reyna could feel the dreamer's presence below, a vast, alien intelligence whose very thoughts warped the space around it. Remember, her mother said, embracing her one last time, no matter how deep you go, follow our voices back. The interface activated. Reyna's consciousness expanded through the crystalline network, touching every stalker, every monitoring station, every particle of the containment field. She felt the dreamer's dreams, visions of impossible geometries and realities that had never existed. It would be so easy to lose herself in them. But her parents' minds anchored her, their love and determination a beacon in the cosmic void. She began the recalibration, using her human understanding of pattern and chaos, order and entropy, to rewrite the fundamental laws that governed the dreamer's prison. The dreamer stirred, its awareness touching hers. For a moment, she glimpsed truths about the universe that no human was meant to comprehend. But instead of breaking her, they became part of the new pattern she was weaving. A containment field that didn't fight against human consciousness, but harmonized with it. Reality stabilized. The crystal fields above stopped their ominous resonance. The stalkers, now partially attuned to human thought patterns, settled into their eternal vigil with new purpose. When Reyna opened her eyes, she understood that Kepler 7 bits would never be the same. Neither would she. Standing in the research station's observation dome, watching the twin moons rise over the crystal fields, Reyna made her choice. Earth was humanity's cradle, but Kepler 7 bits had taught her that the universe held wonders and terrors beyond imagination. Here, she and her parents could serve as bridges between two civilizations, human and Lumini, united in their vigil over forces that transcended both. The crimson sun rose on a new chapter in the story of two worlds. In the crystal fields below, stalkers moved in perfect harmony with human thought, their ancient purpose renewed. And deep below, the dreamer slumbered on, its dreams now part of a greater pattern, one that spoke of cooperation between species separated by eons, but united in purpose. Reyna smiled as she initiated her daily log. Research Station Echo, Kepler 7 bits. All systems nominal. The stars are bright tonight, and we are not alone in watching them.